Got a Fox News alert for you on this September the 11th. President Obama facing the nation on Syria last night and officially asking Congress to postpone a vote to authorize some sort of military action. But is a diplomatic deal with the Russians really in our best interest? Joining us right now is the chairman of the House Select Intelligence Committee, a congressman from Michigan, Mike Rogers. Mr. Chairman, good morning to you.
Good morning, Steve. How are you this morning?
I'm doing okay. But the President of the United States was trying to convince you and other Americans that it's the right thing to do to attack Syria unless something is done diplomatically. Did he make his case?
Well, I was disappointed in the speech, and I'm one, Steve, that believes our national security interests are at stake in Syria. And he didn't make that case either. So he had a little bit of campaign rhetoric, a little bit of I'm really reluctant to do this. Oh, by the way, chemical weapons are really bad. He did well there. I was really disappointed. He needed to be that steely resolved commander-in-chief. We haven't really seen him as that role of commander-in-chief. He needed to talk about not pinpricks or was the attack going to be bigger than a bread box, which that whole conversation confounded me. I mean, this is a surgical strike to degrade their capability to deliver chemical weapons. I don't know why we were even arguing about that, nor should we be talking about what ship, what missile. We shouldn't talk about any of those kinds of things. And why that's important, Steve, is he needed to set the table to say that, listen, peace through strength. If you don't negotiate this right, if we don't get a negotiated settlement, something really bad is going to happen.
Right.
That's how you get to good diplomatic solutions. And all of that, to me, was lost in what I thought was even a bit more confusing of a speech. I was really disappointed in that. I think our national security interests are at stake.
Well, I can imagine how your head must be spinning. You must be a little dizzy. Last week he said, I want Congress to vote. Last night he said, hold the phone, don't vote.
Yeah, again, I thought it was odd to have the speech to spend so much time about talking about why he's asking Congress not to vote. I didn't understand any of that. My argument was he should have come out, acted as commander-in-chief, and said, listen, we have a moral obligation to act on chemical weapons. We have 3 different conventions on chemical weapons where the world says you can't allow this to happen because they are so god-awful. Right? That's important. Oh, by the way, we have the capability to do surgical strikes to degrade their ability to deliver chemical weapons. All of that's in our interest, in the world's interest. And remember, this is a dangerous neighborhood. Iran is spending a lot of time there, and this is the same country, Iran, that tried to blow up a restaurant in Washington, D.C.
Right.
He really didn't bring in all of the other global issues that are happening in Syria. And Al-Qaeda, by the way, 12 years after 9/11, is pooling up in the eastern part of Syria. And they don't have 1 or 2. They have thousands of people, jihadists, gathering up, and they're talking about trying to hold that ground for a safe haven in the future.
Right.
Why the president didn't lay out the case, listen, this is in our interest to get ahead of this.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's confounding to me.
You know, since we've got you today on 9/11, 12 years after the strike at the World Trade Center and in Washington and in Shanksville, and 1 year after what happened in Benghazi, I understand that CIA director John Brennan wrote you a letter and said we're going to cooperate. And he also denied that CIA officers have been subjected to polygraphs or required to sign non-disclosure agreements as well. Is that all accurate?
Well, in the individuals that we've talked to so far, I believe that's accurate. We have not talked to all of them, and one of our frustrations was there were several that were either not made available or decided they didn't want to cooperate, but that no longer is an option. And so we got that letter. We're going to make a final determination with all of the CIA officers on the ground. Remember, the CIA is the good guys in this. They acted with great bravery and patriotism, and by the way, risked their lives to go back and try to save the ambassador. So they're not the bad guys in this. But there is valuable information we think they have. There's some indication that the timelines that has been presented are not accurate, and we're going to get to the bottom of that. This is an important movement in the investigation. I'm sorry that it had to happen on the year anniversary. Obviously, there's some political calculation here. This should have happened. That letter should, we should have had this opportunity months and months and months ago.
Well, now it looks like perhaps they're going to be helpful, which is terrific. Chairman Mike Rogers from Michigan. Sir, thank you very much for joining us on the September the 11th.
Thanks, Steve.